We are back at 49ers Live looking for training camp here at the SAP Performance Facility. I'm Keiana Martin, and I am excited to be joined by the 49ers Director of Team Logistics, Steve Risser. This is Steve's first time on camera with us, first of all. I'm in front of the camera a lot, but I'm always intrigued with behind-the-scenes stuff, so we had to have you on. Thank you for joining us.
No, thank you very much. It's good to be here. And first off, I have a bone to pick with you.
Oh, no. What now?
So over the last few days, I know you've been out here for quite some time. Your most recent interviews being John Lynch, General Manager, Adam Peters, our VP of Player Personnel, and now me. Was there a guest cancellation?
There was no guest cancellation because here's the thing. Without you, Steve, none of this is possible. So we have to get the man behind the magic on the show. It only makes sense.
No, well, first and foremost, me and my guys, Mike Slapp and Steve Spencer, we are in the team logistics department, and we are a small piece of the puzzle. I mean, it takes everybody to make this thing happen, and really proud of those guys, and really the support of the York family, John and Kyle, Al Guido, our president. You know, they've given us all the resources that we need to really function and be safe during these trying times.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am so excited. I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to get into why I'm so excited to have Steve Risser on this show. This is our Director of Team Logistics. He runs an award-winning logistics team with the San Francisco 49ers. Can you imagine packing up 90 guys on a flight for a road game? This is the man behind the magic, and we're going to talk a little bit more about your job and what you do, but let's go ahead and get into practice, show a little bit of what's going on behind us so Steve and I will get into more of his job. But with that, let's get started. What does it mean to be the Director of Team Logistics?
You know, me and my guys, we run all the team travel and really all the day-to-day operations for the team. You know, with that being said, you know, not only are we focusing in on all of the home and road games, but we also focus in on the training camp logistics. Everything that goes on in our facility on a daily basis, whether that be meetings, meals, etc. So we kind of touch a little everything.
So this offseason obviously had to be different for you guys, but when did everything get started, the process of preparing with COVID readiness? When did that begin at the facility for you?
So obviously since mid-March, we started to quarantine. And the first month or two, you know, everybody was kind of in the dark with everything, not knowing if football was going to happen, if an off-season program was going to happen. Right. But it really wasn't until late May, early June where we started putting together a plan. You know, we didn't have all the rules and protocols yet from the league and the PA, but, you know, we started doing our due diligence and coming up with, you know, plan B, C, D scenarios.
How challenging is it? And you, like you said, you don't really know what's going to happen. You're kind of hearing things as they come. But how challenging was that for you and your team to have to adjust when you learn something and it's like, all right, now we have to implement A, B, C, whatever the case might be?
Well, you know what? We're usually working on the fly. You know, we can plan, you know, weeks, months in advance, but things are always thrown our way, and we just have to be ready to adjust. And, you know, like I said, just all departments really coming together on this thing with Ben Peterson and his medical team, our equipment department, video, facilities, stadium ops. I mean, it really did take a good number of people to collectively come together and make this thing happen.
Let's talk about the evolution of this process. So you guys get word, all right, training camp's going to start. How was that preparation from getting the first, I guess, news that, okay, this is going to happen on this date to getting the players in the building? Tell me a little bit about that process.
Yeah, so, you know what, unfortunately, we had about a week's notice from when we heard that the players could come back in.
So it wasn't just me, it was you guys too.
Yeah, it was us too. You know, but we spend all of June and July, you know, prepping the facility so that we can be compliant. Yeah. You know, and John Lynch said it best when we first started. He said, you know what, I don't want to just abide by these rules and protocols. I want to exceed them. And so, I mean, that's the mentality we've had since day one. You know, you talk about the social distancing and wearing masks and everything that we've been accustomed to during quarantine. But we kind of took it a next step further. Why do we need to do 6 feet? Let's do 8 feet. Let's how we serve our food. We have we're accustomed to a buffet
Right.
style. Guys can't touch the food. Guys can't even go into a refrigerator and grab a bottle of water.
Wow.
We have 3 to 4 snack stations spread throughout the facility where it's manned by a staff member. And so if somebody even wants something as simple as a bottle of water, that person is there to hand it to them. So, just thinking about all those different touch points, you really want to try and avoid guys kind of going through fridges and touching multiple things. We really wanted to streamline it as much as possible and have one person handling such food and bev.
That's interesting. And I love that you brought up the cafeteria. That's just one example of some of the changes that had to go on in-house here. But what are some of the other things, the other changes that have happened here at the facility and on the practice field?
Yeah, so I'll just take you through kind of our daily routine here. When everybody arrives, and this goes for players, coaches, and staff, you drive in, and we have a list at the security gate. We have to make sure that we stay within certain numbers. We have a tiered system, so you have a certain amount of people in each tier, and depending on which tier you are, that allows you specific access. So, our security staff at the gate, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're not on that list, you're not getting in.
So you mean to tell me if I'm Jimmy Garoppolo and my name was left off that list, I'm not getting in?
He's not getting in. Not getting in. We'll figure. Well, hey, alarms will sound, calls will be made. We'll get them in. But it just kind of goes to show you that security and just making sure that we're protecting our bubble.
Absolutely.
We take it serious. So as guys come in, not only are you doing a temp check, and you're also answering X amount of questions to ensure that it's safe to come in. Or there's no red flags.
Right.
After that, you pick up your Connexon, and the Connexon is a tracing device. It is something that everybody wears at all times. It is not meant to detect or prevent COVID. Mm-hmm. It's purely a tracing device. So God forbid something happens, our medical team can go back and kind of track who that person's been in contact with, or hey, they've been within 6 feet of this person for X amount of minutes. Let's kind of do our due diligence and make sure that we're covering our bases. So
it's an interesting process and a concept when you think about it, but you think of these tracking devices. How is it same with the guys on the field if they're in a huddle? Is it tracking the guys that are around them in that huddle? Is it just tracking people that they come across? How is it tracking who you're coming into contact with?
So the tracing device is not a GPS system, so it will not tell you where you're at.
Oh, okay. All right.
However, it will start to trace and start tracking if you are within 6 feet of each other.
Okay.
So as we're looking at the guys on the field right now, a lot of people may not know this, but these guys are wearing their tracing devices right now. They're actually in their, kind of sewn into their pads there.
Wow. Okay.
But to go a little further with that, we're watching Sherm here. If Sherm was within 6 feet of one of his teammates for more than 15 minutes, that kind of will alert something when, again, like I said, God forbid one of our guys gets it. They'll go revert back to these tracing devices and kind of see how long they've been within a certain amount of distance from each other.
It's so fascinating, technology, and without these tracking devices, it would make this a lot more difficult to actually have these guys on the field and be able to have an NFL season. But you brought up when the guys come into the facility, having their name on security, it's like coming into your own bubble. Speaking of bubbles, NBA has their own bubble. Obviously, we can't do that with the amount of people across the league, 32 teams. I feel like it's kind of impossible. But how much are you guys looking at what the NBA is doing, trying to implement some of those things maybe into what's going on in the NFL?
Yeah, we've been looking at that since the offseason. We were, basketball and baseball were two of the sports we were looking at the most because, we had the luxury of not starting, right away. We had a
Right.
little time. When we talk about bubble, these guys are still going home after work, after day's work. So the bubble mentality only works if everybody's really doing the right things and using good judgment when they go home at night. We do have a good amount of guys staying at the team hotel. This year, unlike other years, it's optional. Traditionally, it would be mandatory for guys to stay at a team hotel, or if they travel off-site, maybe some teams use dorm rooms. But, this year, the NFL and NFLPA decided that, hey, listen, let's make it the guy's choice. These are different times. So like I said, the bubble only works if everybody's doing the right things.
Speaking of guys doing the right things, how has it been getting the guys to buy into this? I always go back to Richard Sherman's first press conference, and he said he doesn't feel like he has to babysit these guys. He knows the guys are going to do what's right. They know what's on the line. It's not just yourself. It's your teammates. It's your teammates' family. It's the staff. But how has that process been, getting these guys to follow these protocols, follow these new rules that are so foreign to what we typically see during a training camp?
No, these guys have been great. They really have. And if you think back to mid-March when everybody started quarantining, we all got a taste of what we were about to expect. We all got a taste of what social distancing was all about, wearing masks. So although this facility is a lot different, how we meet, how we eat is a lot different, I don't think it was really a shock to anybody, because we all spent about 3, 4, 5 months quarantining, so we all had a taste to begin with.
If you're just tuning in, we are joined by the 49ers Director of Team Logistics, Steve Risser, a part of an award-winning NFL logistics team. Speaking of, tell us a little bit about this award. I keep saying award-winning, but I want to know more about it.
Hey, you're talking too much about this award here. Me and my guys, like I said, Mike Slapp and Steve Spencer, and myself, we were fortunate to win the Travel Department of the Year this last year, 2019, and it's an award. It's that's voted on by a lot of the big hotel partners. You got your Marriotts and Hyatts, and so hey, quite frankly, it could have been rigged. I don't know, but regardless, it's an honor.
You're so modest. It's well deserving. I see what these guys do, and it's incredible. And again, like I said at the beginning of the show, I know a lot of my job is in front of the camera, but I'm so intrigued with what goes on behind the scenes. Could you imagine? I mean, if you're looking at this field, you're seeing tons of people. You're seeing an entire roster. You're seeing coaches. You're seeing staff. You're seeing equipment. You're seeing people like me. You're seeing people like Riss. And you're packing up all these people, sending them on the road. That's just amazing to me. You deal with the hotels, the food, the buses, the entry into stadiums. Everything is kind of under your watch. I'll get into that in just a second. But I want to know what, so far through this pandemic, has been the biggest hurdle for you and your team?
I think it's just being able to prepare in advance. We are, that's what we do in the off season. We're planning months in advance for this stuff, and it kills. You ask any operations person in the industry, it's killing them not to have answers and to wake up the next morning and different rules and protocols apply. So just not being able to know what's really going on too far in advance. We're truly going day to day with this. As is everybody. We're not the only ones dealing with this. So everybody's in that same boat.
So I was just talking about packing up a team and sending them on the road. I know we're not there yet. We still have a couple weeks until we're actually on the road. But as of now, as you're preparing for the season, how does COVID change all of our road games?
It changes a lot. But, what we've established here at our facility, with all the protocols, how we set up meeting space, how we set up our cafe, tracing devices, etc., that we're basically going to pick this up and transport it to another city. We are going to treat everything just as we do here. different states will have different protocols, so we will make sure that we abide by those rules, of course.
Just something else that you have to take into consideration.
Just another
in this
something
process.
else, exactly. You kind of take for granted how we operated before. Looking back, it's like, wow, that looks so easy now.
Right.
But no, I mean, things like, I didn't touch on the locker room, for example. The locker room, all those lockers are spaced out, 6+ feet from each other.
Yeah.
We've actually removed, I shouldn't say removed, relocated coaches and staff to expand a little bit in our current locker room to make sure that the players were all together and not really broken up.
It's the things you don't even think about, like the smallest details that have now been changed due to what we're in right now. But, all right, let's talk about road games.
Talk about road games.
Let's pretend that COVID never happened. I wish that was true, but let's pretend it didn't. What goes into packing an entire team and sending them on the road?
A lot, Keiana, a lot.
That's just the answer, just a lot, a whole lot.
Next question. No, it's, again, people see us as the travel and logistics guys, but, it's everybody. It's our equipment staff. It's our video staff. We may pull things together and keep things tight, but it's the other departments that are working just as hard, if not harder than us, to be honest. But no, anytime we travel, we're traveling with 20,000 plus pounds worth of equipment.
And that's just not my bag, right?
We won't talk about that. We won't talk about that. Keep it a little lighter this year, will you? I tell you what, ever since I saw you rolling that, I don't even know, it was bigger than you. That bag was bigger than you, and you were rolling it towards the plane. I'm like, oh my goodness.
This is a true story. We were going on a road trip, and I think it was one of our games where I think we stayed on the East Coast.
Yep.
And I'm literally walking to the plane, and Steve Risser sees me, and he goes, oh no. And I'm just like, listen, I'm gone for a week. I don't know what kind of conditions we're going to be in.
We wedged it on. No, but, from a travel perspective, again, like I said, we may get into a situation where everything we know today will change.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest things that we're doing that's really different when we travel is plane and bus seating. So we're traditionally on a wide body airplane, usually a 777, and usually people have room, but not one single person on the plane can sit next to each other, just like what airlines are doing now with commercial flights. So just making sure we space out accordingly, and even buses. We usually travel about 6 buses. We may need to add a bus or 2. but numbers are going to be tightened up this year.
Yeah.
We're traditionally we travel pretty heavy, just because we have a lot of support staff, which is awesome. But unfortunately, we have to shave a little bit and keep those numbers down to stay within those tier numbers.
Steve, you've got a difficult job. You got to tell some people that they're not hitting the road this year.
Hey, if you can't go, I'm not telling you. I'll have Slapper Spence come tell you.
You'll have somebody else deliver the news.
No, I'm kidding.
All right, let's talk about home games. Home games are a little different. Everything you need is right here. Let's talk pre-COVID. How does home games change compared to a road game?
Home games are not gonna change drastically because it's just going to be weird without fans, and hopefully that day comes. Hopefully in the foreseeable future where we can get some fans, because it's just going to be weird walking into an empty stadium. But as far as rules and protocols go, we're working out of the same locker room that these guys already work out of.
Yeah.
We just have to be cognizant of the fact that we keep our numbers down, because you'll have a certain amount of people that can be in the box, and then you can have a certain amount of people that can be in the press box, coach's booth, etc. So you just have to be cognizant of the numbers and make sure everybody's abiding by the rules.
How soon do you and your team start gearing up for the next season? Is it once all the planning is done for the season prior because you know your opponents somewhat? Is it once season ends? Is it once the schedule comes out? When do you guys kind of start jumping on the season ahead?
We really start talking about it in February.
Okay.
February, March timeframe. We know who our opponents are. We just don't know which dates we're playing them.
Yeah.
So in that February, March timeframe, we do a lot of our hotel research. Now, we didn't do it this last off season because of the pandemic, and we didn't want to get on a commercial flight. But in a traditional year, we'd actually go out to the cities we're playing in, and actually do some hotel site visits. Whether that's myself, Mike, or Spence, I kind of throw it on those guys. I'm not going to lie to you. I have a wife and kids at home. Sometimes they forget who I am.
Listen, working in football, you're pretty much you're swamped from just about April through optimistically February. You're hardly home, so it makes sense.
Yeah, so I throw it at those guys. Hey, this is my 19th season.
Wow.
And I feel like I've earned it. I feel like I've earned the
yeah.
ability to kind of throw it on them. Don't you agree?
I agree.
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly agree. What's funny is I always tell Riss, I love my job. I love what I do. But if I could be his intern, I'd probably be the happiest person on earth. So we made some discussions about maybe swapping out someone from his team, throw them over here. I can work with him. But again, I keep saying I am so intrigued with what you guys do, how you guys put it all together. I'm thoroughly impressed with how you guys have got things up and running here during training camp. So just don't forget about me if a spot becomes open on your team.
Yeah, I tell you what, we could use some extra folks this year. No, always keeping that in mind, and we can always talk trade too if we need to trade.
Deal.
Yeah.
Deal. I love it. So, all right, what's your favorite thing about your job?
It's the people. It really is. I grew up just north of here in Fremont, California. I grew up a diehard 49er fan, just a Bay Area guy at heart. So, just working for my childhood team is absolutely amazing. But it's really the people here. It really makes you think about the grind and all the work that's entailed, but the people make you want to really come into work every day, and you get excited. We are a family. We spend a lot of time together, as you know, and it's a second family, and love these guys. I mean, you have to have a fun atmosphere in order to stay sane in this business. We all know that, and I think we have a great group, and we keep it entertaining.
So we're winding down the final minute and a half of the live look, and we only get to shoot during a certain period of time, but I'm super happy to have you, Steve. It's an absolute pleasure to get your time, but I got one good one for you. What happens if a player misses the team charter? What happens?
That's a good question. We actually had that happen before, and this was years ago, and I will not name any names. The general manager or head coach will get on the phone with said player, and they're on their own. They're on their own to make.
So they'll have to find their way to the city that you're playing in.
Yep. Now, knock on wood, that hasn't happened in a long time. But I'll tell you what, when this happened years and years ago, our general manager at the time was very unhappy, as you can imagine, and told him to find his own way to Arizona. And so guess what he does? He hits me up and asks me to help him with the flight. And so we're taxiing down the runway, about to take off, and I get another text from him and says, "Hey, there's no flights to Arizona."
Oh my gosh.
And I said, "Well, where are you looking?" He said, "I'm on cheapflights.com."
Oh my goodness.
And I said, "Oh boy. I mean, Southwest is only going every couple hours, but no, I mean, obviously there's a strict fine associated with anybody missing a team function, a team meeting, team plane, bus, etc. So, I don't know how much that fine was, but luckily that doesn't happen much with us.
I'm going to tell you guys right now, that's my biggest fear is missing the team charter. Literally, I'm probably at the facility 3 hours early to make sure that I don't. But Steve, absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us, giving us a little peek into what goes down here at the SAP Performance Facility. We will be back tomorrow for another live look, and make sure you guys tune in and stay locked in to 49ers.com. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.